The Kansas City Chiefs recently cut defensive backs Darius Rush and Eric Scott, and they signed three players because they cut a punter as well to replace them. There are already videos on the channel for the other two players signed, and this video is to talk about Ajani Carter, a defensive back out of Houston by way of kind of Baylor, by way of Utah State. And just going to be upfront with things. I'm not sure he has too much chance to make the regular roster, but he is an intriguing defensive back. So Ajani Carter here, you see he has an RAS score of 6.7, 10, and 10 and basically an 1/8-inch hands. That big hand size for a guy who is 6 feet tall, 32-inch arms, good arm length as well. 193 pounds, often listed at 200 pounds, 200 to 204 pounds, is currently listed by the Chiefs as 190 pounds. So somewhere in the middle there lies Ajani Carter's actual weight. 18 reps on the bench press, that scores 9.02 out of 10. But then we get into a couple of very, very bad numbers, a 31.5-inch vertical and a 9-foot 10-inch broad jump. That vertical, you don't see that very often with defensive backs. That is a very, very bad vertical. Scores 1.67 out of 10. Hard to see. You almost have to hope that he was injured that day, because that is not a good vertical, especially for a defensive back. Ran a 4.5 240-yard dash, not what you want to see from a cornerback, but it can work in the NFL. A 10-yard split of 1.54, however, scores 8.32 out of 10. That's a good 10-yard split. Not explosive, and maybe doesn't have endurance if he's got a 1.54 10-yard split, which is really good, and then a 4.52 40-yard dash. There was a little bit of getting winded in the middle there, but and you see the 20-yard split basically confirms that. A 2.61 20-yard split scores 6.73. So you have a 40-yard dash that gets off to an 8.32 start, drops precipitously to a 6.73 midway mark, and then gets all the way down to a 6.44 finish on that 40. A bad shuttle number of 4.38 scores 3.36 out of 10, and then a 3-cone drill of 6.95 is a decent score with a 7.03. What did he do in college? Why did I say by way of Baylor kind of? 2019 through 2022, he found himself at Utah State his freshman and sophomore seasons as a wide receiver who did have tackles, so he has special teams experience. Played quite a bit of special teams, actually. In 2021, he moved to safety, where he found himself tackling even more. 45 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions as a safety. Play fell off a little bit statistically in 2022, where he was a first-year senior for Utah. Cornerback, you see there playing cornerback, had 44 tackles, only 1 tackle for loss, no sacks, and 1 interception. Then he transferred to Baylor, where he would not play in 2023, and in 2024 found himself in Houston as a cornerback, 22 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, half a sack, no interceptions. So a bit of a varied career there for Carter in college. The main thing here, and this is the big selling point that I have for this player, he is a high motor player who becomes a high energy player that translates to being a high swagger player that can make a group better through his very presence. This seems to be what you would refer to as a locker room guy. While this is a player who I do believe is unlikely to make the team for the Kansas City Chiefs, he could make training camp more useful for this team by raising the level of attention and the awareness every day. He is someone who other defensive backs will not by whom other defensive backs will not want to be outshined, and he's someone who is going to be so aggravating to offensive players that they're not going to want to lose that rep. And that matters in the middle of August in St. Joseph, Missouri, when it's 103 degrees and you're taking your fifth route of the day, stepping up and saying, "Oh, it's Ajani. I just got to shut him up. I've just got to shut him up." That can be motivating, and that cannot be undersold. Like, I think sometimes it's easy as a fan, especially as a fan of my generation and generations after, to think of these things in a soulless sort of way because we grew up with Madden, right? Your 83 rated defensive back on Madden did not complain. When you had Eric Warfield on Madden, he didn't complain when you switched him to safety, right? And he gained 5 points of total overall score. He didn't complain. It doesn't happen on the football field. Players do get meaningfully better and meaningfully worse, not by 1 or 2 overall points in the offseason, but through the course of practice. This is a player who is going to talk. This is a player who is going to brag. This is a player who is going to be loud on the field. And you look down, Hal Presley, for example, probably going to be going against a Johnny Carter a lot. Man, Hal wants to shut him up, especially because Hal did play at Baylor. So whatever it was that went on there, he's not going to want to be on the receiving end of that trash talk. He might be a better fit for safety or the nefariously titled defensive back, whatever that designation actually means for the Kansas City Chiefs, than he is as a cornerback. I do not think that this is a very sudden or quick twitch athlete, but like I said, he is a high motor player. So what happened at Baylor? In an article titled, "Former Utah State defensive back Ajani Carter was supposed to play for Baylor this season. Not anymore." From Deseret.com by Trent Wood. Former Utah State defensive back Ajani Carter, a converted wide receiver who also transferred to Baylor during the offseason, choosing the Bears over BYU, Penn State, and Indiana, among other schools. But Carter announced Sunday on social media that he will not be attending Baylor after all, meaning he won't be suiting up for the Bears. Quote, "To the Baylor fans who's been reaching out to me over the past few weeks and today about where I've been," Carter wrote, "I just wanted to let everyone know I will not be attending Baylor," though he declined to answer questions as to where he might play next. I don't know what happened there. I have no idea. I dug around a little bit, couldn't find anything, a little bit on message boards, couldn't find anything. But I said earlier, I think that he could be a locker room guy, right? Bring the spirits up in the locker room. Depending on what happened at Baylor, I might be wrong about that. But he did seem to have a good relation. So there was an interview with him that I was able to find on YouTube upon his commitment to Baylor. And he seemed to have been pretty stoked about committing to Baylor. He is apparently a horse guy. He has ridden bulls, a real Jared Allen. And he seemed stoked to be in Texas. So I don't know what happened there, but whatever it was went south. He, like I said earlier, he does have special teams experience. He is not probably someone who would be signed to play corner or safety or defensive back, but special teams rather than over anything, unless he was able to work his way up the depth chart. I don't see that happening, especially because Darius Rush is a very impressive athlete. He is one of these super athlete guys. He's bounced around the league a few times, the Steelers and the Colts, in addition to 2 stints with the Chiefs. And the Chiefs did not keep him, even though he would be an extreme talent for just special teams. How fast can you get down the field? Darius Rush could have done that lickety-split. And they didn't keep him because apparently he just has no upside on defense. So I'm not convinced that they will keep defensive backs anymore that are not able to contribute on the base defense. Now, as a bit of an unfair side note, he does have a son, right? So you're not getting a young guy here so you saw he had all those years in college, plus a gray shirt year, as it were, he's not a young rookie. He has a son, and he talks about his son a lot. So he has the motivating factor to want to make a team. You're not talking about a young guy who just thinks he's hot stuff and doesn't care if he gets the job or not because he thinks he has the world in his hands, right? You see that sometimes with younger males especially. He's not that guy. He seems to be a family man. He seems to be a good father. So he's like, what kind of motivating force is that for a guy, right? You're not getting someone who is going to be in camp and directionless. He's going to want to stick around as long as possible. So he's not going to make poor decisions. He's not going to not pay attention in practice and in meetings. So that is what it is. It will be a motivating force for him. You have to root for a guy like that. I just don't see it really working out. I don't see that he has the upside on defense that the Kansas City Chiefs will prioritize for the roster, for the 53, when they have so much talent this year on that roster from 1 to what will be 53. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate this sort of thing, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on the channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.